In this lecture, I'd like to talk about a tool called nexpose. Nexpose is made by Rapid7, so it's made by the same people that made Metasploit and Metasploit Community. And it's similar to Metasploit Community in a sense that it has a web GUI and it allows us to discover, assess, and act on discovered vulnerabilities. It also maps these vulnerabilities to existing exploits, but the difference is Metasploit Community only showed us exploits that can be used within Metasploit. Whereas with nexpose, it actually shows us exploits that have been published somewhere else other than Rapid7 and Metasploit. So it works on a larger scale, it shows us more vulnerabilities, and it also helps us to create a report at the end of the scan so that we can share it with the technical people, and a small report which is of a high level that can be shared with the managers. It also helps us create scheduled scans so that, for example, if you have a company or if you're working on a big infrastructure and you want to do regular scans every week or every month, then you can do that using this tool. Let me show you how to install it and run it, and the differences will become more clear. So nexpose doesn't come installed in Kali Linux. We have to install it manually. To download it, you need to download it from the following link. It'll ask you to fill up your name and address and all that. Fill it up and download. I downloaded the community version, which is free. So I have it right here. Now what I'm going to do before we can install it, the first thing we're going to do is stop the PostgreSQL service that comes in-installed with or that is running in Kali Linux. So I'm going to do service post stop. That will stop the service, the SQL service. Now I'm actually already at the downloads folder, so usually when you run your Terminator you will be here. So you'll be, if you do an ls, you'll see all the directories, and you'll need to change your directory to the downloads directory by using the cd command. So cd and type in downloads. Now once we're in the downloads, we can list all the available files, and we can see that we have nexpose right here. Now usually you'll have this, you'll need to change the permissions of this to an executable. Now I've already changed it, that's why it's in green. So for you, for the first time, you need to run a command, the chmod command, to change the permissions so that we can execute that file. So the command will be chmod +x, and you type in the file name that you want to change the permission, and for us it's nexpose. And that's it, the permissions are changed. Now to run this installer, to run any executable in Linux systems, all you have to do is dot and /, then type the file that you want to run. So for us it's nexpose. Now as you can see, you get a nice installer for it. So I'm gonna click next. Now it's asking me to accept the agreement. And I'm gonna install the console with the scan engine. Now as you can see, one of the problems that I have here is that it's not supported with the Kali Linux version that I have. I have the latest rolling version of Kali Linux, and nexpose is not compatible with it, so it's not going to let me install it. Now it's only compatible with Kali 2, so if we want to proceed and go ahead with this, we're going to modify 2 files on our local system to make our system look like Kali 2, so that the installer will let us install it on our system. Now hopefully in your case, by the time you watch this video, there will be a supported version, so you can just click next in this step. But for me, I'm gonna have to go in and modify 2 files to make my system look like Kali 2. So follow the steps that I'm gonna do now only if you get this error. So I clicked on finish, and I'm gonna go here. I'm gonna attach a file that contains the instructions that you need to do to fool or to change the version of your system to Kali 2. So I have it here in the documents. The 2 files that need to be changed are the LSB release and the OS release. So I'm gonna open 2 tabs in here, one for each file. and the first one is in etc, and it's called lsb release, and we can see that the file here. Now before I modify this file, I'm actually going to copy it and store a backup of it, because after we finish this step I'm going to restore it to the way it was. So I'm going to create a new folder and I'm going to call it backup, and I'll paste this file here. And after I do that, I'm going to modify the file according to the instructions. So I'm going to open it with LeafPad, and I'm going to copy all of this. I'm going to save it and quit it. Now I'm going to do the same with the next file, which is the OS releases, which is stored in user lib OS releases. So I'm going to copy this and put it in my backup. Then I'm going to modify it according to the instructions. Okay, now everything is done. I'm going to go back and run the installer again, and it should think that I have Kali 2 installed and let me proceed through the installation. So again, scroll down, accept, next. And as you can see that it thinks I have Kali 2, so it's letting me proceed through the installation. Now I'm going to put my name, my last name, and the company. And now it's asking me to put the port for the database that's going to be used with nexpose. Now that port is already been used with an already installed database, so I'm going to make the port 5435. And as you can see, it's telling me that the port is valid and can be used. So I'm going to go next. Now it's asking me to make a username and a password for login. So I'm going to make a username and I'm call it Zaid. And then I'm going to select my password. And make sure you don't check this box. Now I had a lot of issues when I was checking this box while installation, which basically should start nexpose once the installation is over. But I'm not gonna check it. I'm just gonna install it and then start it later when we want to use it. So I'm not gonna check this box. Make sure it's unchecked. And that's it. Now it's going to install it for me. I'm gonna pause it and resume once the installation is complete. Okay, so the installation is successful and we didn't start nexpose yet. So if you go on this link, nothing's gonna work. You need to run this command first, and then you can access it. So we're gonna talk about that in the next lecture. For now, that's it. I'm gonna click on finish, and we're done. Now we're gonna go back and make sure we set our files back to the way they were. Now, if you didn't need to modify them, then again skip this step. If you did modify them, like myself, then make sure you go back and you set them back to the way they were. So I'm gonna go on my backup and I'm gonna open these files. So we're gonna do the OS release first. I'm gonna copy it and modify the existing one and make sure it's the same as it used to be, the rolling one. As you can see, it says Kali 2 here. I'm gonna set it back to 2016. And then I'll do the same for the next file. And that's it, everything is done. We restored our files the same way they were, and we installed nexpose on Kali 2016.